Welcome back to... Cut.
That's a perfect start.
It's going to be a great episode.
That's how you know we're off to a good start. It's going to be funny.
Oh my gosh, action.
I almost said it, but I felt like it was your week to say
I'm gonna do it.
2 hours later.
Action. Welcome to episode 5 of These Nutz podcast. Okay, we got through the intro. I hope the rest of the episode goes better.
I think it will.
Okay.
I think if it doesn't, some laughs. That's who we are. That's what we want everybody to see. So I'm okay with it.
Updates from last week.
Updates from last week. So we talked about beefs.
Shelly and I are still getting along. She
yes.
sent me a heart emoji today. She must have listened to the episode.
I wondered if she had heard our little shout out.
Yeah, so no beef there still. No updates on Kelsey and Cody. Although Star did message me and say thanks for breaking that down. I did leave out a lot of stuff, but you can't cover a 3-year feud. And I felt like I rambled about it forever the way it was.
I tried to go back and put pieces together based off of, because Cody has everything on our Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to go to Instagram, and then I was going to Kelsey, and then I realized I was following the other members of the Queen team. And honestly, it's a lot. So
yeah, it's a lot.
I can't imagine how you are this cut. Have you been vested for 3 years?
I wouldn't say invested. I've had it on my FYP for probably that long though. So, yeah. Who else was I going to update you on?
So we also talked about the drama between Joan Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Any updates in Bette Davis?
They're still dead.
Okay.
They're still dead. Although with all these mystery ships coming, maybe it's them. Coming back, they're still continue.
They're sending us messages.
Yeah, yep.
They saw the podcast.
They were like, these bitches got it wrong. I'm gonna show up.
If, by all means, if you're listening, Joan Crawford, you're welcome on our show. Let us tell your story.
That would be great. I would love to interview 2 corpses. Another update from your part of the story, the Mandela effect.
Yes.
I call him my cousin. He's actually Chuck's cousin, or Gabe and Star's second cousin, Dave.
It's okay. He can be your cousin.
He's my cousin. He posted a picture of that mean gremlin, and he was clearly a victim of the Mandela effect because he thought his name was Strike, too. Spike.
It's Spike.
Spike. He thought it was Spike, and I told him it was Strike.
So were you here last week?
Yeah, I was paying attention to it. I talked about it too much.
Did he tune in and see our updates?
I don't know. He hasn't told me yet. I'll have to check in.
Okay, check in. If
Dave.
Spike.
Well, to make it more messy, it's actually Drew on Facebook. Look, we all gotta have a...
Just forget it.
That's fine.
Just forget it. I'm just kidding. My mom did send me a message and say she never raised me to say Tostinos.
I didn't figure she would.
She did. That's the only thing I've known my entire life was Tostino's pizza and pizza rolls. So she can say that, but I know she fell victim to the Mandela.
Yeah,
too.
she was a victim too.
She really was. So, but yeah. What else I think that was it.
That was what we covered last week.
So, are we ready to dig into this week?
I'm excited. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's my week. I want to talk about famous last meals.
Ooh.
So
you know I love a good serial killer.
I know you do.
So I want to know what they decided to eat right before going into the afterlife.
There was a lot of different routes I could take this though, because when I was like, ooh, I same thought as you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look up famous last meals and see who had what. Mm-hmm. What are some crazy requests? Like, do they fulfill these requests? And when I first looked it up, it was people like, what did Elvis have for his last meal? What did John F. Kennedy have for his last meal? What did Princess Diana have? And I'm like, no, give me the prisoners.
How would they even... Oh, I guess your stomach content.
Yeah, or just like the people that have been around
Yeah.
him, like, they just left a ball, and
Mine would be like ramen noodles and a Mountain Dew at any given moment. I don't want that document.
same. Have a Twinkie.
Yeah. A package of Girl Scout cookies
Right.
were found in her stomach.
So,
There was a glitch in the Matrix.
I hate when that happens. Joan and bed again. So, yes, I do want to go the route of people who are on death row and had to choose a last meal. So, just a little bit of history, not a whole lot. I'm not sure how much you know about famous last meals or last meals,
Very little.
but something that I kind of thought was interesting was in jail or in prison, wherever these prisoners, convicts, felons, what do we want to call them?
Yeah.
Exactly. Murderers.
Murderers,
I
if they're on death row, we can call
Yeah.
them like they are.
Something that they do in jail is they don't call it a last meal.
Okay.
They call it your special meal. What would you like for your special meal?
What is that, a mind trick? Like, oh, maybe I won't remember it's my last meal.
They do it to defer a prisoner's feelings.
Exactly, then, yeah, it's a mind trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe it can be controversial, but that's just say call it what it is.
They're not tricking anybody.
Exactly.
They don't forget.
Right. They're like, I wonder what I'm gonna eat tomorrow. Oh, this is it?
It's my special meal.
I forgot. So I wanted to dig into like the history. So I did find a little bit of like how long has this been happening and why do they do last meals? So I found two reasonings.
Okay.
One, some people refer to it as a religious thing. So they compare it to the Last Supper.
Okay.
And then there was another one, which I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking this just is coming from two different parts of the world, but where people were given last meals as a superstition. Because if they didn't, they weren't fed well for their last meal. People were concerned that they would come back and haunt their executioner.
Oh.
So
How far back does that go?
I several hundred years.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting.
We gotta
But-
feed them good or
Yeah.
they're coming back.
Right. I mean, yeah. So not all, like bringing it to today, not all states offer a last meal. Today in 2023, we would be looking at, there are 20 states in the United States themselves that offer last meals.
Oh, I really thought it was anybody that got put to death.
Really?
That's what I thought.
I didn't think that it would, actually, now that I'm saying that, I'm wrong. Please let me apologize.
Okay.
Cut.
That's the first time you've had to call cut. This is staying.
This has nothing to do with their last meal. It's actually 20 states still have the death penalty.
So all 20 give a last meal?
No, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
So don't ask me how many give a last meal because I don't know.
Update for next week.
Exactly.
Or maybe one of our viewers knows and would like to comment.
Yes,
Oh,
please. Somebody do my work for me.
she should have Googled it.
I should have Googled it.
Yep.
I did Google it. I thought, but now I'm realizing I didn't. So
Okay, so 20 states are still putting people to death.
not all offer
And some of them.
the last meal option.
Okay.
3 states that I thought I would note that I found kind of interesting, and I'm sure every state that offers the not the death penalty.
Done with you. Would you like the death penalty? It comes with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes. Take me out. I'm
Some days I get pretty hungry. get 2 biscuits?
Extra gravy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, not every state offers the last meal. 20 states still have the death penalty.
Okay, Katie, I'm up to date. Got it. Is there a quiz at the end?
I don't know what our problem is today. Three state facts, okay?
3 state facts.
3 state facts about the death penalty and last meals.
Okay.
Arizona requires that an inmate must submit a written request with a form that they have no later than 14 days prior to being put to death or executed.
14 business days?
Just 14 days. They have exactly. I don't know that in jails and prisons that they have business days.
Right. It's all business.
It's all business.
Yay, that's just the way we talk in the clink. Been a lot of fun talk about prison today, but I'm here to scare you straight.
Oh, okay.
So every state's a little bit different. Florida, because some places can get kind of extravagant. Florida, you have a $40 limit,
Okay.
and it has to be found locally. So no flying in
I would hope
caviar
not.
from
Yeah.
Timbuktu. Oklahoma only has a $15 limit.
Damn.
In some places, they don't even let you.
I've spent more on lunch on that.
Right.
before.
And they're trying to get their special meal.
That's crazy.
Some.
I mean, they don't. Probably some of them. I'd throw up a piece of bologna and walk on by. But
Some don't get the option, or they have to just get whatever's being served. And
Mike, what was the food like in prison?
Gruel. Sandwiches. Gruel omelets. Nothing but gruel. Plus, you can eat your own
you want
ham.
ham beans or do you want oatmeal?
Right. Yes. That's your options.
That's what they get.
So, 5 prisoners
Okay.
that I want to tell you about who were sentenced to the death penalty and given the option of a last meal.
Okay.
Okay. These are in no specific order, just as I found them and thought they were interesting. I'll tell you where they're from, the crime that they committed, their name, what their last meal was. I don't know why I'm being so extra today.
Okay. I can't wait.
I feel like you're ready for it to be over.
No, I'm really like, oh, tell me.
So, Lawrence Russell Brewer. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
So, he was a white supremacist from Texas who was sentenced to death via lethal injection after he tortured and murdered an African American man in the 1990s. So, they said, Lawrence, what do you want for your special meal?
Okay.
I'm going to go through this list. It's extra.
Okay.
Lawrence said, give me 2 chicken fried steaks, smothered in gravy and onions, a triple bacon cheeseburger, fixings on the side, cheese omelet with ground beef,
Ew.
tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, a large bowl of fried okra with ketchup, a pound of barbecue with a half a loaf of white bread, 3 fajitas with fixings, meat lovers pizza, 3 root beers, a pint of Bluebell vanilla ice cream, and a slab of peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts. Lawrence isn't messing around. He wants his.
Have you ever had fried okra with ketchup?
No, I don't think so.
I love it. I'd put that on my last
Would
meal.
you?
Yes.
Please hold your last meal for the end.
I will, but do you get all day to eat this? Because you can't consume that in an hour.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I think it goes obviously by state that
Yeah.
of like when you get it versus how long you get. Like, but he wanted all of that.
That's crazy.
So, did he get all of that food? Yes, he did. He was granted the request. The food came, all of that food, and he refused to eat it. He said that he was not hungry.
I bet not.
And that Texas should stop granting last meal requests. So he just, yeah,
He was just making a point.
I guess so.
I hope the guards just had a feast.
Yeah, with all of his food?
Yeah, if he wasn't going to touch it or eat it, why not?
Right.
Although they probably spit on it.
I mean. So that same year, Texas did stop the last meal
What a
request.
dick. He ruined it for all the death row inmates.
Exactly.
It's always got to be one bad apple.
Does it for the bunch, rots the whole tree.
One bad apple spoils the bunch.
Damn.
So prisoners just get normal food now in Texas. They don't get a special meal.
Okay.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, Philip Workman out of Tennessee.
How do I not know these names?
I
I
don't-
really consider myself a crime aficionado.
I know, I kind of expected you to be like, know him, especially with that last one because,
Yeah.
I mean, he, like, pretty significantly, like, stopped last meals
Yeah.
in Texas, but, oh, I guess that was in 2011.
That's not that old to me. That's in my time.
It wasn't before your
Nope.
time. Not mine either, actually.
Yeah.
The next one was before my time. So Philip Workman
Okay.
was convicted for the murder of a police officer. He was an addict in the 80s, addicted to cocaine, and he was on the road. And while he stopped on the road, he stopped at a Wendy's, robbed the place. The cops came, he took off, ended up shooting one of them, and was arrested.
Okay.
So that was 1982. In 2007, he was put to death via lethal injection. His last meal request, he declined, but instead requested that a large vegetarian pizza be given to a homeless person.
Okay.
The prison declined.
Okay. As is their right.
As is their right, but this was a different state, but you just gave
$180 worth of food to this guy,
who didn't touch it.
and he just wanted to give a pizza to a homeless person.
Right. But so I'm not sure if it was like a news outlet or what, but somehow the word got out that he wanted to do that instead of having the last meal.
Uh-huh.
And like the public all across the states were like would go and purchase and give a pizza to a homeless person.
Oh,
like
wow.
in his honor.
Well, it almost honors still, like, because we're talking about the death of that
The
police
police
officer.
officer. Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I mean, that was a redemptive move. Is that a word?
I'm deeming it a word.
Okay, redemptive. He was very redemptive in his last movie.
It's not a word.
It is today.
Yeah, he really wanted to redeem himself.
When you use it like that, it's obvious.
Oh, yes. Okay. Eileen Wernos.
I just say it fast.
You know who she is, right?
No. So, what was her name?
Eileen Wernos.
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
Warnos. You gotta say it fast. You literally did it in slow motion.
Eileen Wernos.
Got it.
Out of Rochester, Michigan. Okay. You might know of her or about her from the movie Monster, starring
I can't place it. Who's it starring?
Charlize.
Are you serious? Stop. Are you serious? Oh, that was a close one. Who?
This is what I want to share with the people.
I know. We need more followers. This is funny.
Charlize Theron.
Thrawn.
Theron.
No, I don't know on that one. We'll go with Theron.
Anyways.
What did you say the first time?
Charlize.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Charlize Theron
Good enough.
played Eileen
Warner.
W.
Yes.
in the movie Monster. So, for those who don't know about Eileen, she was a prostitute. I didn't write down the year, so I don't know, but in the 80s or 90s, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the 90s.
And she would rob and kill her male clients. So she was considered a serial killer. Her last meal request, a cup of coffee.
Oh.
She declined food in protest of the abusive treatment that prisoners get while they're in jail for doing things such as murdering several
Multiple
people.
people, yeah.
So, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Have you ever watched the movie Monster?
I have not.
It's so good. You should watch it.
Is it scary?
No. It's a drama, but it's not scary. But it really tells about just her tough upbringing and the abuse. Like, you almost start to feel sorry for this serial killer, but she...
I can't promise I'm going to watch it because I feel like there's probably some violence in there. And
Yeah.
fun fact about me, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do violence.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I want to say it won awards and everything. It's so good.
Oh, I mean, when I looked her up and found her, and I saw the lady with no eyebrows or the blonde eyebrows, I was like, is that the lady from the one, Charlize? Is that Charlize? But...
And Charlize Theron
yes.
has a crazy backstory. I want to say,
Really?
yeah, her dad maybe killed her mom or something. Oh, follow. I should have Googled. I didn't know this was coming.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so Google that and we'll, I guess, retry,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that.
Yeah, that she has a story too.
Very infamous one, Ted Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what his last meal request is?
No idea.
So I feel like almost everybody knows who Ted Bundy is, especially in today's time. They did the, I'm not going to call it a remake. Gotta cut that out. They did a documentary.
Yes.
On Ted Bundy, I think on Netflix or something like that. But he was a serial killer who murdered, I believe, 30 women or so.
I don't know. A lot.
Yes. His last meal, he declined to have a special last meal. So he was one of the prisoners given just what they were serving. What?
I'm still laughing. His special last meal.
I feel like I have to say it.
I know it's awkward though, but okay, sorry.
So he declined his special special meal, not his special last meal. He declined his special meal. So he was given the standard last meal for Florida's death row, because this was in Florida. Their standard meal,
Okay.
a steak done medium rare, eggs over easy, toast with butter and jelly, milk, coffee, juice, and hash browns.
That all sounds good.
It really
That does
does.
sound good.
He didn't have a single bite. He didn't eat any of it.
If I knew the minute I'm about to die, there's no way I'm eating.
No.
No way.
Yeah.
I want to go into the afterlife looking as thin as possible. No, I would be so nervous. How could you eat anything?
I think it would have to depend, because first of all, the people that are on death row, some of them, especially people like Ted Bundy, are wildly psychotic. Some people don't have feelings
Yeah, that's
to
true.
be doing those
That's
types
true.
of things. So I read John Wayne Gacy. Is that
Yes, the clown.
the clown? Yes.
Mhm.
I didn't put him in here, but he requested KFC, fried shrimp, like all these like really fried and heavy foods that I think he was a manager at a KFC or something like that. So that's what he wanted, but he had no problem having a last meal. He was like, this is what I wanted.
I would write, if I had to do the 2-week request, what I wanted, And then I'd say, could you just surprise me with it on a random day? on a dust day. So I can enjoy that food. Because you're not eating that. I mean, I guess some people are.
I think in some cases they do it like the night or the week before. But I mean, even still, that's your special meal.
Yeah.
None of the other prisoners are getting KFC and a medium rare steak.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
So, yeah. Ted Bundy. Last one that I have, Victor F. from Iowa.
Where's the name?
It's this one, not this one. Go ahead.
Fugger? Fugger? I don't know.
I think it's Figor.
Figor?
Just kidding. Victor F. He was the last person to be executed in Iowa.
Okay.
He was charged with murder after abducting and killing a doctor. So he was sentenced to death by hanging in the 60s. So way before both of our times.
Yes. I can't imagine hanging somebody. That's so gross.
I can't imagine, first of all, I can't imagine executing anybody, or being there, because I know in some places but in any other way than lethal injection.
I know. Everything else seems cruel.
Yeah. And graphic.
Yeah. The jerking, the snapping, the noise.
Oh, stop! Thank you. I just
the goose.
I just said it was graphic, and then you had to describe the graphics to me.
Yes, sorry.
So his last meal request, or his special meal, was a single olive with the pit left in. Why would he want that? Let me tell you.
Oh, okay.
So he took the pit of the olive, and I don't know if he was in a suit or what, but he was in something that had pockets, and he put it in his pocket. That way, when he was executed and buried, the pit would grow into an olive tree, and that for him symbolized peace for that tree growing.
Okay. Much like Katy Perry in the olive branch.
Yeah, just like her.
Yeah, peace offering.
Yes. Yeah. So.
That is interesting. Did it work? Is there an olive tree there now?
Find out next week on these podcasts.
Can't wait. I'll tune in.
I'm sorry, I have to get it out. I have to stop saying it. So yeah, those were my 5 that I found that were just like, oh, that's interesting. Not just like, hey, John William Gacy, he had KFC.
Yeah. No, those
so
were
I wanted to keep them like, why would somebody want just an olive pit? Or why would somebody want this elaborate, extravagant, why would you grant that? I don't
Because
understand.
it's just not humanly possible to eat that much food.
Right. I just, what prison warden or whoever is in charge of granting those requests to be like, you can't have all of this. You pick 2 things.
Right. I wonder if there's some, red tape behind the scenes that we don't know about. Just give it to him or he'll get a stay out of it. Or just whatever he puts, just freaking bring it so that nobody can say we were cruel and unusual.
That's very true.
There might be some stuff behind the scenes that, because anybody, if they asked that guy on the street, would you? He'd be like, hell no.
Right.
You can get a hot dog and some Frito-Lays. That's it.
From the commissary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, what would your last meal be?
I'm craving okra and ketchup now that we talk about that. I would definitely get some pasta, some Alfredo probably.
Okay.
I love lobster. Throw some lobster in there.
Oh, wow. What if you had a $15 limit like in Oklahoma? Make it a little tricky for you.
$15 limit, then I would probably, I guess tell them to go at lunchtime to the Olive Garden and get me some Alfredo.
There you go.
Get the lunch
Unlimited
special.
breadsticks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want an ice cold Coke.
Oh, an ice cold
Yep.
Coke to go. Okay.
To go. Put it in a Coke cup.
I didn't know if you catch that or
I
not.
did at the end. That was good. What would you get, Katie?
This is kind of wild to say, but I feel like it would depend on my mood.
I know, yeah.
So, like, if you told me right now I had to pick a last meal, I would probably choose some rolls from Texas Roadhouse. I would probably have some type of Mexican food.
It's always good.
Probably some guacamole.
Yeah, boys, get that extra.
Right,
It's the last meal.
Steak. So, yeah, but I'm also kind of like you, though. I just can't imagine, unless you've been in prison for long enough that you've made peace with being on death row, that a person would have much of an appetite. So, I don't know, but yeah, I would like to dig into more of like which states do offer the last meal and what are their other, I'm going to call them crazy, like requirements or things like that, because I almost think that's a little bit more interesting to me. Like you've got $15 versus you've got $1,000, but you have to put it in writing.
Right. Huh.
So,
that is interesting.
yeah. But I think that's all I've got. So.
Okay. First, I'm going to tell you about the story that almost was.
Okay.
So, for the first time, I was excited about this. Somebody messaged me and said, I have this story suggestion for you. And that was my Aunt Kim that I was telling you about earlier. It's Dave's mom.
Dave or Drew?
Whatever you want to call him. But I still call him Dave because that's how I first got to know him. But, again, so Aunt Kim is Gabe and Star's great aunt.
Okay.
And I first met her when I was like a teenager, 16 or 17. And just a little backstory, just so you know how great this woman is. My mom was either actively dying or had just died.
Okay.
And I was just kind of going through it. And I was really bratty. I was really disrespectful to everybody.
I can't imagine that about you.
No, I really was. I'm embarrassed. But Aunt Kim and Mary, who also likes this show a lot, which is Gabe and Star's grandma, they just love me through it anyway. And even like 30 years later to have them still supporting me just means so much. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Aunt Kim. But the suggestion that she sent me, Katie, was I wanted to do it so bad. And the more I dug into it, it's a story from our hometown, our area, which is Fountain County, the Attica area. And it's happened in the like late 90s, early 2000s, and it's a story that made national news.
Okay.
Where the person that's kind of the center of the story was maybe a hero, and then maybe a murderer, and then maybe a kidnap victim, maybe not.
I have questions, but I don't know that you have the answers.
I have some answers, and we can talk about it off camera, and I'll tell you why. So I'm like, I remember this story, but yet I couldn't remember all of the details.
Right.
And when Aunt Kim sent me the name of the person, it was just a little bit off.
Okay.
But we were able to get it there.
Yes.
And so when I started doing some creeping that I learned from you.
Katie's creeping.
Don't forget, call her anytime. I discovered this person that I'm describing to you on Facebook. But to make the plot a little bit thicker, we have 22 mutual friends.
So this person's still in the area, still out and about.
Yes.
I mean, they haven't moved or...
No.
Okay.
So I initially was like, I can get past that. I'm
Oh.
still going to tell the story. I can get past that. But then I was still doing some stuff I learned from you. I had found the name of one of the victims, and then I was able to find the grandfather's obituary. So then I was able to get the names of the victims.
Katie's creeping 2.0.
But one thing I found during all that creeping is that when Dateline was in town, the family declined to give an interview. And they have other children, they have other ties, they're still in the community.
Okay.
And so if she didn't want to tell her story there,
right,
unless she messaged me and said, yeah, please talk about this, can you believe that this woman's still out there
right,
living her life? Yes, let's draw some more attention to this. But short of that happening, I don't feel it's respectful.
To the family.
To the family.
That's fair. Yeah, I would.
Bless you. Is that Henry or the cat?
I'm so sorry. That's Panda, our guest star. She has a sneezing problem.
Oh, bless you, Panda.
She's on the other side of that door.
Bless you, Panda.
So, wow.
So I'm not going to talk about, it was so, it had my attention, and I think it's a story worth telling, but somebody else's probably. Like, if that mother, that father, if they're not wanting it brought back up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would obviously love to know more, especially it sounds like it would be a story with a ton of twists and turns and like, this happened, but wait, this happened, but this happened. How are all of these things happening with the same person? But I think ultimately that's what it boils down to. It's just like respect for the victim's family.
Yeah.
So.
Because if you notice, I've talked about Bobby Dunbar. That was the 50s.
Yes.
I talked about a murder here in Lafayette. That was in the 80s.
Right.
There's still people here in this story that was suggested that's so unbelievable. But I feel like it's modern times. Her children are the age of or younger than my children. You know? So if that was something that was traumatizing to my family, I would be so upset if somebody was talking about it.
Sharing, trying to share that and so if you find any other local stories, because I think that's always fun.
Yeah, I do have another one that I want to talk about. That's from Attica about just a little teaser that went missing.
Okay.
And was later found in her backyard. So I'll maybe talk about that soon. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
I want to talk about probably the most famous missing child in the history of missing children, Madeline McCann.
Okay. Yes, I know there's some Madeline McCann stuff happening out in the world right now.
I've been obsessed with it all weekend. I'm really excited. I don't want to get to the end, though, before I kind of just recap what happened with Madeline.
Thank you. I was going to ask for that because I really only know, I know the name and I know a little bit, but I'm not into true crime as much as you are, so I don't know like the details or like the story behind it other than what I've read more recently. Yeah. So, yes.
So, and I can remember when this all was playing out at live time 15 years ago.
Okay.
So, I've been obsessed with crime and what makes people tick for so long, and so this is just a refresher for me. I'm Madeline McCann. So, like I said, 15 years ago. Well, let me back up a little bit. So, the parents of Madeline McCann are Jerry and Kate McCann.
Okay.
And they're both physicians. And they actually struggled to get pregnant and had to do some fertility treatments and finally got their little angel, Maddie McCann, and then had twins a year later.
Okay.
So when they went on this holiday or vacation, as we call it in the United States.
They're not from the U.S.?
No, they are from, of course I shut my laptop.
That's okay, you should have Googled it.
It's a town called like Luxembourg.
Okay.
It's in Europe.
I saw that somebody had called it a holiday as well. And then I just wasn't sure if I was like because I was on TikTok, if I was just on like maybe somebody who was covering the story that was from outside of the U.S. or if this has happened out of the U.S.
So there's a lot of terms that they use that are a little bit different. They say holiday instead of vacation.
Right.
And they call the hotel suites apartments, which kind of threw me off too, but it's just a cultural thing.
Right, okay.
Okay, so Maddie, her parents, her twin siblings, and then 4 other couples went on this holiday together. And so those couples had children. No, I'm sorry, there were 4 couples total. So 3 other couples. And then they all had kids. And one of the couples actually brought their mom along as well. So help with the kids. So they all went, this was in 2007 that they went on this vacation. And when they went there, it was like a really nice, I'm going to say resort, where during the day there would be kids clubs. So you could literally drop your kids off and go play tennis or go
do your thing.
Yeah, do whatever, relax, you're on vacation. Some of the kids were old enough, some weren't, but then the adults would like split up the duties of
Responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
taking care of the kids. This was a 7-day vacation.
Okay.
And their routine was pretty much the same every single day. And part of that routine is they would all meet for dinner after the kids went to bed. They would leave the kids in the apartments or the suites. So there's been a lot of like judging about that decision. But I've looked at a ton of the pictures. It's almost like a separated type resort.
Okay.
So it wasn't like they were on the Vegas Strip and there were people walking by. Or,
Right.
And one of the parents, it might have been Jerry himself, not one of the other parents on the trip, described it as like if you were all having a neighborhood party and you were having dinner at like the neighbor's backyard pool, you would probably leave your kids in bed and check on them. And so
Yeah.
they had a system, and every single night, so at like 8 o'clock, the kids would all be in bed. These are toddlers, so they
Okay,
go to
I was
bed
wondering,
super
like,
early.
how old? Because I mean, if you're leaving all these kids with a 15-year-old, like, okay,
No, they're by themselves.
but I guess toddlers, but also different countries are different. Everywhere is not the U.S., and I feel
Right.
like the U.S. has a very high crime rate. So where they're at, maybe that could be normal.
And where they're from, and also parenting styles are different.
Yes.
People are more loose with their kids, and other people are more helicopter
Yeah.
parenting. So I'm not going to judge them on this decision.
No.
Because they weren't the only ones that made it. 3 other couples all said, yes, this is a good idea. Let's all leave our kids
Yes.
in this suite. But they didn't just leave them. They would take turns every 15 to 20 minutes. One parent would leave and go check on every single set of kids in all these different suites.
Okay, so it's not even, yes, okay.
Yeah. So, did I mention that Maddie's 3 at this time?
You did not, but I knew she was young.
Yeah, she's 3 years old. And so, one of the parents before had gone and done the check, and then it became Kate's turn. And by this time, it's 10 o'clock at night. So she goes to her apartment first. And she goes in through the sliding glass door, because this is night 6, okay?
Okay.
They have done this 5 other nights.
They have a routine.
They
like
have a
you said.
routine. And it's also the last night of their trip.
Yeah.
So she goes in and she looks, but when she opens the sliding glass door, she notices that the bedroom door is more open than they leave it.
Okay.
Even at home, they always almost all the way shut it. Just enough for like a little bit of light to get through, but this was cracked open. So she was like, that's weird. And then when she went to shut the sliding glass door, that door slammed shut. And so it was like a vacuum or something.
Right.
So, sorry. When she gets over and opens the door, she can see the twins right away because they were kind of in one area. And then Maddie was on a bed, on a cot in another part of the room. She immediately noticed Maddie is gone. There's a phone in the suite.
Okay.
She has a cell phone, but instead of using either one of those things, she runs the 90 feet or 90 meters, I don't know how long that is, back to where the adults are and is screaming, they've taken Maddie. And that's when it's first discovered that Madeline McCann is missing.
Okay.
So the police are called, obviously, very quickly. They're all looking around for her. And Jerry has said in later interviews, Madeline's dad, that he expected kind of like trumpets blaring and the cavalry to pull up, multiple police, detectives, and it wasn't like that. It was like one police officer showed up, a second one kind of showed up, and they were all just like, she's around here somewhere. And even the resort staff was saying, no, we've had kids wander out of their rooms before. We're looking for her too. But then by the next day, they still had not found her. And of course, this is 15 years later.
Right.
And she's still missing. Some additional details about Madeline McCann that I feel like everybody knows. I feel like her picture has probably been circulated more than
I
any
can picture
other
it plain as day.
missing child in the world. And one really distinctive feature about her is she has a birthmark inside her eye.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's almost like a darker line inside of her eye. Before we get to the latest update, though, I want to tell you kind of the three main theories of what happened to Madeline. One theory is, and I don't support any of these necessarily, I'm just telling you what they are.
Sure.
One theory is that the parents were sedating the children to get to dinner. They were the first ones at dinner that night, and that they overdid it, and they ended up accidentally hurting Madeline, and they disposed of her body.
Okay. You can stop me if you want, but
No, go ahead. We can talk about that. We can talk about each of the theories.
yeah, let's talk about the theories for a minute, because if you're gonna sedate the children, what's the point of checking on them every 15 to 20 minutes?
Right. To keep up appearances with your friends who haven't sedated their children.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. I'm not buying that one, so go to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not buying that one either because they're physicians.
Right.
They're both doctors.
So, one, if they were, they wouldn't have the wrong dosage, and two, they're both doctors. Like, why would
No.
Something about that's just off.
They wouldn't overdose her, and two, had they, they're both educated doctors. They would have just called 911 and said she got into the medications.
It's something.
I dosed her. I didn't know my wife had dosed her. Oh my God, help us. I don't buy that one either. Another theory is that a member of the resort staff had watched this routine very closely going on for 5-6 days and stole her for whatever nefarious reason.
That's more plausible to me. I feel like if that was the case, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's a ton of details that I don't know, but wouldn't she be maybe not easily located, because who knows, in today's world, one person could take a child and then in 2 minutes later they're handed to somebody else.
Right.
But they would at least have had a lead, wouldn't you think? Because they would have to go through every single resort employee. Do they have a background? Are there fingerprints inside the room?
They weren't doing sex offender checks in Portugal at this time. I do know that.
Okay.
So the background check, maybe not. You know, or kind of knowing about that person, maybe not. One thing that made me lean this way is they had locked the doors and they had shut the window, but you could kind of open the window. But when a police officer was like, I don't think you can, one of the resort staff was like, yeah, there's a trick to it.
Okay.
And open that window right up. So resort staff would know how to operate the rooms.
Right.
Then the last theory is just a sex trafficker had knew that there were lots of little blonde babies at this resort, and had been kind of watching and seized the moment and took her, and either murdered her soon after or sold her.
I don't. I feel like that would be the one that, I mean, right off the top of my head, that I would lean towards the most.
Yeah. I don't think the parents had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It's somebody took her.
And why? I mean, unless it was an accident, like you had mentioned, like it was accidentally giving her too much medication. This was a child that they had tried to have for years.
Right.
That's
why I wanted to share that up front, because man, you don't work that hard for your dream to be like, I want to go to dinner a little early. Like,
right.
No. So what's got me kind of reinvested in this case, let's talk about this. There's a woman by the name of Julia. I wish I had her last name. I did have it. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
That's okay. I can put it in.
Who has blown up on social media, on Instagram, with, I believe, the username, I am Madeline McCann.
Oh.
And getting her story out that I can't remember my childhood. I've asked my parents to show me a picture of my mom pregnant, show me my birth certificate, and they just are not providing it. And she's a Polish woman. And so I Googled a map so I could see where is Portugal and where is Poland.
Yes.
And it is all inland.
Okay.
So within a 15-year time span,
Absolutely.
they could have driven her
Right.
there, even if she doesn't have ID and stuff to get on a plane.
Right.
So one of the things that has really caught my attention is her face shape and kind of the shape of her chin. She has that mark in her eye, which is,
Really?
it affects 1 in 10,000 children. But to me, I've never seen a child that had it. It's
Anything like that.
no,
Yeah.
it's so unique. Now this Julia, hers is faded, which would happen over time, I would think, or at least is a possibility.
Right.
But she's asking for a DNA test from the McCanns, and what's got me so excited about this is they've agreed.
They said yes.
They have
We
a-
want
they-
to know if you're.
Yeah. And if you know you murdered your child, I mean, you might, I guess, do whatever for appearances, but
Yeah, that is true. Like just to throw a new trail, or
Yeah.
but I still don't go down that theory.
no, I don't think so either. But what prompted, oh, here's another thing. So this Julia person who is just not sure about her identity, she's being told she's 21 years old.
Okay.
Madeline would be 20 in May.
Okay.
So there is a slight age difference. But I could see Madeline being a very bright child. Both of her parents are educated physicians.
yes,
And being able to pass for a year older.
that is very true.
Maybe not in appearance, but you can't tell a 20-year-old from a 21-year-old. I can't.
No. Have her parents released any statement? Because it doesn't sound like she's on speaking term with her parents if she's going public and saying, I believe I'm Madeline McCann, because I mean, what are you saying about your parents if you come out in public and say that?
So I did see a live feed where this young lady was saying that she currently lives with her boyfriend.
Okay.
And what started this was her grandmother made a comment. And she won't really say what that comment was, but alluding to the fact that you're not who you think you are. And something in her triggered something the grandmother said, something she heard about the Madeline McCann case. She also said that she has a teacher at her school that one time made a comment of, well, you didn't always go to this school, you must have went to another school. And so when she asked her parents about it, like, I didn't always go to this school, and they're like, yes, you did.
I mean, she's at the age now to where I guess, of course, other countries are different, but could she not just go and find those records? Or
So I don't know what's going on in Poland, because that's funny that you say that, because another thing that she said on a live feed or on a question and answer type thing is she called, here we call the health department
Right.
and say, can I come get my birth certificate? She called whatever officials you call, and they said, we'll provide you this information over the phone.
what?
How does that work?
It doesn't.
I'm going to need a legal document with my name on it.
Right.
Do they not have to have that to work in other countries? I mean, there's just so many things I don't know. But
Right, that is very true.
And so by the time this is released, we may have an answer on, is she Madeline? Is she somebody else's missing child?
Yeah.
Or is she just somebody that's mentally ill? I mean, there's always that possibility too.
There is. There's not only just not even just let me do a DNA test against the McCanns, but let me do a 23andMe or, I mean, if she has significant reason to believe that she is Madeline, then maybe do start with the DNA test. But in today, I mean, you can do a quick swab and send it through the mail, and it'll tell you all these family members that you didn't know you had.
Right. Yeah. If they have taken it as well.
Right.
There are some differences in between it, like an ancestry test and a DNA test.
Right, yes.
So we are going to know for certain, is she Polish or is she
Right.
Luxembourgian or wherever they're from?
Yeah, Luxembourg.
But the DNA test will say with certainty if that's their child or not.
I'm just playing out some scenarios in my head. If she is Madeline, what I've read stories or heard stories or seen stories where parents or people that want to become parents are so desperate they can't have a baby that they're willing to do anything like by a child.
Yeah.
Like, with no questions asked. So, if she is that something that her parents, because her parents are going to have to speak on
Yes.
why,
Yeah. Why do you have her? Yeah.
If that is her.
Right. Well, I think we'll be able to trace back what really happened that night, because she has mentioned a name, Peter Ney, I think, as being an abuser of hers, and there was a gentleman with the same last name that was initially questioned in the Madeline McCann disappearance. So, I mean, there are so many ties, but they're all of her storytelling.
Right.
I mean, hopefully it's the truth.
Right.
I would love to see them reunited and know what happened to her that night. But she's also shown a couple, I don't know if they're moles or freckles that are like in the same location. I want to say it's on her neck that Madeline had. So, I mean, there's, to me, the signs are pointing that way.
It's her.
But, you know, you don't know until, thank goodness we live in a time where you get those answers. Not like the Bobby Dunbar days.
I mean, they didn't know until, what, 2006?
Yeah. I mean, I think so, but decades later.
Right.
And it wasn't even their child.
No.
So.
And I mean, by that point, what can you do? Because you've spent your whole life growing up knowing these people as your parents. Yeah. Which, I mean, in the Bobby Dunbar case, the man lived his entire life and then passed away and then had kids.
Yeah.
So it really more so affected him and his grandchildren. But she's 20. She's 21. So
have you ever watched the movie or done any research on Switched at Birth?
I'm familiar with it, but only a little bit.
The true story version of that's really sad.
Is it?
Yeah, like one of the moms had passed, and the child that she had thought was hers then got sick and died, and then they started to force the other kid to come. It was terrible. You know, that hospital, you can't pay that family enough money for what you did to them. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I plan to follow this no matter what happens. So more to come.
Yeah, keep updates on that. Yeah. I don't care if it's in 100 episodes. I want to know if
I'm going to be all over it.
If she is,
if she's her, what's that going to look like? What's going to happen to the people that raised her?
Right.
What is their role in this? I mean, there's so much to unpack.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear the next details that you have.
Okay, you're going to get them.
Do you have anything that you wanted to say or share before I take any reins?
Nope, you go right ahead.
I just want to point out that if you guys have any stories, any topics, anything you want us to cover that you find interesting, that you find funny,
just like Aunt Kim did, send us a message.
Yes, send us a message. If you know us personally, text it, Facebook us, whatever it may be, or email us at our podcast email. It's in the description of every video. DM us on Instagram or send us a message on Facebook. And we want to talk about whatever you guys are interested in. This is something that we do anytime, whether the camera's there or not.
Yeah.
So we thought,
what do you got for us? Because we'll want to talk about it.
Yes. Bonus points if it's local.
Oh, I do like a good
I think that, yes, because that makes me really want to do some digging, break out Katie's creeping. Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Right. Well, thanks again, guys. This has been another episode of
These Nutz Podcast.
We're getting good at that.
We really are.